everyone, and welcome to Wowhead Weekly number 247. Not sure if you guys can hear the bell, but that's my cat just walking up to me wanting a quick head stroke. We have big things to talk about today. We have the Shadowlands expansion officially being delayed. We have a cat in my face and on my keyboard. Hopefully she didn't mute. Yeah, no, I don't think she muted me. We're good. We also have the pre-patch date confirmed, and we have a very special guest today. All right, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Annie, or also known as Annie Fuchsia. I have a cat, and I always do this show with my lovely co-host, Perculia. Let's send the camera to her.
Hey everyone, I'm Perk. I also have a cat, but he's off screen right now. He's right down here. And I run Wowhead, so I oversee all the news and guides and features we put on the retail and classic versions of the site. And we have a lot to discuss with the pre-patch date, October dev update with the conduits, and of course the Shadowlands delays, and nobody knowing when Shadowlands is actually coming now. So we're really excited that we have a special guest on the show to add to the discussion during this especially juicy week. Please give a warm welcome to Lux, who, you know, is a Twitch streamer, and you may have heard of him by using his amazing week aura packages. So, chat, give him a warm welcome.
Yay!
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello.
And with that,
I don't have a
just
cat.
left me alone. That's okay.
I don't have a cat. I have a doggo. I have a puppy. But if he joins us, he will literally destroy everything. So we'll keep it
Keep it dog free for now.
Yeah, for now.
So we can still see you. I mean, our cat's also kind of come in the way, as you saw during that introduction. She was literally sleeping for the past at least hour, and she just happened to walk up exactly when we started the show. It's as if she knows.
That was the best intro I've seen.
Tail in the face, tail in the camera. I was only worried that she would be muting me, but it looked green, so I don't think she did. So we're good. We're safe. But yeah, Lux, really nice to have you here, and such perfect timing with the new expansion because of something that you are very known for. Do you want to talk to us about what you do and what got you into content creation?
Yeah, for sure. So we started roughly a couple of years ago, or 2 years and a half maybe. Started doing some week ors as I was going into Battle for Azeroth. Made 12 class package that you guys may have seen or heard about, and I'm doing the same thing again for Shadowlands. So that's mainly my jam. I do mostly Twitch. I'll do a little bit of YouTube to allow you guys to install them, see how they work, how to customize them. But it's gonna be mostly just, you know, having those package available for you guys for the community, and that's my thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, because like I mentioned with the new expansion, I feel like a new expansion is always the perfect time to start looking for weak auras, because that's when so many things are new and you don't know yet what you want to track, what you don't want to track. And not everyone finds it fun and interesting to look up all the buffs beforehand, before you pick up items or before you get certain legendaries or certain items. So for all of those kind of people, including myself, it's very convenient to then just look up these awesome packages and get the exact class that you need, which is relevant to yourself. I mean, these kind of packages are not only interesting at the beginning of an expansion, it's also awesome to use when you're mid through an expansion and you're maybe picking up an alt of some sort. Then it's nice to just have something ready. So thank you, Lux, for creating those kind of things for the rest of us who may not be able to, or may not have the time to, or similar, to, you know, to give us some tools to play the game in a simpler and more convenient way. It's awesome.
It's a pleasure. It's super fun to do.
It's a great time to have you on the show, because we learned finally that the Shadowlands pre-patch has a date, and it's the 13th. And while, you know, Covenants and Legendaries are not coming until the expansion proper, there's a lot of returning abilities and renewed interest in classes that people might be interested in, and I believe your initial week aura packages are going to be out in time for the pre-patch. So
yes,
really
exactly.
highlight it.
That's a really good timing. Yeah. This time around, it's a little. I was actually anxious to know what the date was, because I had to get ready and prepared for it. So I wanted to know as soon as possible. We finally got the date, and everything's going to be ready to go. Everything's going to be ready to be launched for that pre-patch, and we're going to have all of our new ability track and all of that. So that's a really good timing for sure.
That's awesome.
Awesome. So why don't we kick off our first discussion topic with the obvious one that seems like years ago because we almost forgot. We haven't had a Wowhead Weekly since the news came out. But,
yes.
Yeah. Shadowlands is delayed until later this year.
Yeah,
so
I was
here. October 27th.
I was there thinking, like, what are the big discussion topics today, actually? And it's like, wait, Shadowlands delayed. And I'm like, wait, right, we haven't had a show since. So we have big things to talk about. Shadowlands delayed is a big deal for many reasons. And one of them is that Blizzard actually has not delayed an expansion ever since TBC. That was the first and last time that they ever delayed an expansion due to wanting to work on it further. So it's really interesting why this happens now. I think a lot of people who have been playing beta or have been following the updates on the beta aren't that surprised, considering how certain in-game things look right now on the beta. But it's still very interesting that it happened, and also so close to the actual release date. I mean, we are in October already. Lux, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's kind of funny because it got announced to me midstream as I was saying to someone that there's no way it's going to be delayed. I was mid-sentence into I was like, there's no way Blizzard, you know, like they've never, like you said, they've never delayed an expansion since Burning Crusade. So I was like, there's no way it's happening. People took days off. It's not happening. It's too big. It's already in motion. It's just, there's no stopping that train. And then as I was saying that, somebody in chat linked me the link and I was like, oh no, God. Okay, I guess I'm wrong. It's delayed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Honestly,
but yeah, like you said,
that's what most people are thinking too. It's crazy. Go ahead.
There is work to be done. You know, like it's just, especially with tuning, we're probably going to talk about that, but like, especially with tuning, it's all over the place right now. So I was kind of hoping it was going to happen, but it's a little bit selfish because like, I don't have to take days off. So like, it doesn't affect me whether they delay it or not, but I know it's affecting a lot of people. So I was a little bit anxious about it. I was like, I hope they do, but at the same time, I don't want it to be delayed for everybody's sake. You know, I know people took time off and I know it's a big deal for a lot of people. So I was a little bit relieved, but I was a little bit sad at the same time for all of that. But it's for the better, I think. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely people who
was really interesting.
Yeah.
Because like we learned about the release date pretty late at Gamescom, and it was pretty soon after they released it, you know, maybe a month later, that they're now walking back the expansion date. So you have to wonder, you know, what changed between the Gamescom release announcement and you know, a month later that made them suddenly decide, hey, no, it's not ready after all, and pull it, because, you know, it would be more convenient for players if they didn't just announce the release date, then a few weeks later, you know, reverse that. And it's also, I mean, we've, like they said in the Blue Post, it's interesting, like, what's ready versus what isn't ready. I mean, the story seems to be all there. The art seems to be all there. All the Covenant rewards are coming along. But the endgame systems, as we've discussed in the past, just are kind of a mess, and they keep changing every week with what they're intending. And Blizzard made a big deal that they wanted to get all the testing for systems in early, and they made a big deal that you could test the unpruning and the alpha, and, you know, you could test out the base Covenant abilities in Torghast. But it seems they underestimated the scope of all their endgame systems, and that's what seems really behind and what's causing the delays. Like we just saw last week, you know, they announced all this Covenant tuning, and they're like, oh, we're just starting it, and it's clear that there's so many knobs to tune that it's not ready, even though they try to buy themselves extra time with, you know, that like pre-patches on one branch and betas on another, and we'll tune during the pre-patch. It's like they're changing Covenants. We just learned how Covenant ranks work, and they're like changing up that system. Like there's just massive changes. It feels like it's happening every week, and clarifications, and we don't usually get this so soon to an expansion.
Yeah.
I mean, they got really, really in depth though with a lot of things. I mean, this beta has been more transparent than any I can remember. Usually there's a lot of systems that are left in the dark, and you just know, like, if you, I mean, Battle for Azeroth, I think, was probably the I don't know if I want to say the worst one, but it was really like we didn't knew anything like Azerite trait were just a thing. We barely got access to the first couple one that were for questing, and it felt like we didn't knew really what we were gonna get, and then we got it, and then we were like, okay, well that doesn't work quite well, and then they had to go to the drawing board again and start over with that. Now I feel like they're giving us all that stuff, but it feels rushed. It feels like they're really like, we got to release this, we got to do this. And then they're releasing all of this, and it feels good that we're able to test it. But then as you test it, you realize that there's a lot of things to balance.
Like
there's a lot of tuning knob.
So yeah, while with BFA, it's like, oh, well, you know, Azerite was late. It's like, well, maybe we got some things slightly earlier, but it's like 5 types, you know, it's like 5 Azerite systems. It's like the Soulbinds, which didn't work on beta for a while, and then it's, you know, the conduits. It's how the legendaries interact, and then it's how you swap the Soulbinds, and it's the Covenant abilities, and, you know, there are all these interlocking factors that are making it pretty difficult to test.
I think that's also what's making it difficult to balance as well, because you change one thing and then it affects every class and every spec differently, and then you have to consider that, and then you realize that certain classes might be too strong, but where do you even start with the nerfing? Maybe if you change one thing, it affects it in a different way at a different item level. It just becomes so complicated when you have so many different systems, and I think that's probably one of the walls that they kind of realize that they're running into towards the end there. I saw, for example, Preach covering some data from the raids, and there's classes doing, or specs doing, double the damage of some other specs, and I think they realize that the balancing of that is a lot more complicated than maybe initially thought, simply because of these complicated systems on top of each other.
It's too many tuning now.
Yeah, like I remember even I was covering a blue post last week right before the delays came out that was like, we know that Soul Shape is only really working for 3 classes out of the 12. We hope to fix it soon. It's like Soul Shape was, you know, like an ability like revealed at BlizzCon 2019, and it's still working on 3 classes. If that's one of the earliest abilities that still needs polish, like what's going on with the stuff added much later during the beta?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think they're figuring out on the go, right? It's just like, if you look at, like, I keep talking about this a little bit on my stream, but like, if you look at damage breakdown of what a class should be like in my opinion, like a class should be doing with its base core setup should be doing, I don't know, like maybe let's say like 60 to 70% of your damage should come from your class. Then maybe you get like 10% from your Covenant ability, maybe like 5 to 10% from your Soulbind, and 5 to 10% from your Conduit. All right, that seems pretty. And then you do beta, right? I'm on beta right now doing keys, and I look at breakdown damage of certain classes, and their number 1 ability is their Covenant, and it's doing like 20 to 30% of their damage. And then I look at mine, and it's nowhere to be seen, and like something else absurd is at the top. And then like what happened to Warrior, right? Condemn was doing a lot of damage. Blizzard was like, oh, Warrior's doing too much, let's nerf Condemn. And then Warrior are left with their ability doing no damage. So like now they're completely broken, and that's happening with all the classes everywhere. It's just all over the place right now. It's a little bit scary, but I mean, that's why they delayed it. So I mean, that's probably one of the good reasons.
Probably, yeah. They did mention that it was a lot of in-game things that they wanted to touch, and in-game basically does cover what type of damage or how much damage you do, and then especially in comparison to other classes. So I think damage tuning is probably one of the bigger ones, and it's I think it's probably, if you look into the math of things, it's probably even more complicated than we even can imagine. And
I mean, definitely. So, especially with the claims they were trying to make that they wanted your Covenant to feel as impactful as your class and race. That's, you know, a big claim to make. And if you want it to be as big a deal as your class, it needs tons of you know, things associated. Which was also something we mentioned, I think, in the last show or the week before, like, there's a lot of discussion around, you know, borrowed power, and does it make sense for, is it sustainable for Blizzard to create new borrowed power systems every expansion, to have them go away? And I think even Ian was saying in interviews that are almost a year old that they wanted to maybe give people more things to look forward to that were staying put every expansion. And it's like, well, what's going to happen to Covenants if this is a system that's going away? They're going to basically make us, you know, 4 subclasses, and that's just going to go away when we go back to Azeroth. It seems like this is a lot of work for something that could just be temporary.
Yeah.
So I think they need to sort that out now, because we've seen that if they try to do something intricate and then it goes away, it could lead to expansion delays, and then they can't have something reusable going away.
I feel like I've talked about this as well a lot. I feel like one of the main problems that Blizzard had over the expansion is constantly giving things to classes. And I kept doing a cake analogy where you just put layer onto a cake and then you just add layer and layer and layer. And then at some point your cake tumbles over. It's too high. Your cake doesn't work. So Blizzard started giving little cupcakes to people. And then when the expansion is over, they take them away. Yeah, I mean, that's the good thing about this analogy. It makes you it makes you hungry, and but they have to take those things back, I feel. So, but as long as they make them feel disconnected a little bit, like they're still fun to play with, but they don't feel like they're part of your class too much. So it doesn't hurt you as much when you lose it, right? So one of the big things about the weapon for Legion was that it felt so connected to your class. It did feel really, really good, but when they took it away, you were sad. You were like, oh, I'm losing this. This is not good. But then, like, if I don't know, like right now for me, if I lose one of my Covenant ability, it's going to be like, okay, so this is fun to play with, but if I lose it, am I that upset? So I think they're trying to strike a balance here. And I think they have to. It's hard to do, though.
Yeah, there's like a lot of development time going into the Covenant system,
and
then the Conduit system, and then the problems caused by the Conduit system, as we saw today. So, you know, there's just a concern that if every expansion needs like more and more epic temporary systems, you know, is that good for getting expansions and content out in a timely manner?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. Like, do we need a full-on new cool system that affects our classes so much, which is potentially causing the delay in the first place? Because I'm sure tuning would not be this difficult if Covenants weren't giving us power of any sort. Would having an expansion which is a little bit more, I guess, naked of these cool outside systems and more based on the classes and their own abilities and just sort of gear from raids, going back to a more simple state of how WoW, I guess, used to be, would that be better? Or is it exciting to have an artifact weapon with, you know, perks and things that later goes away?
I don't think it has to be an artifact weapon. It just has to be something that makes your class play differently. I think that's what it is. It's otherwise you get burnt out, right? Like if I would play my Death Knight the same way for 15, I mean, not 15 years, obviously, but you know, like for 10 or 9 years, and it plays exactly the same way, then it's going to become a problem, right? Because I at the end of Battle for Azeroth, it plays well, it's fun, I got all of this power, but I want it to change a little bit. I want to go into the next expansion, and it doesn't have to be a new reward, but it just has to feel a little bit different. Just something refreshing, something new. And like previously they did it with one row of talent, but like I said, they can't keep adding those. It causes problem.
Yeah.
But then like right now the problem is they didn't do one system, they did like 3 or 4. Like, it's just Legendary, Covenant, Soulbind, Conduit. They went all over the place. They don't have enough
ovens for all the cupcakes.
Oh yeah, that's not gonna work.
Expanded. It's not a restaurant anymore, it's a chain.
Oh yeah, right now they're opening places. I don't know why they wanted to go with so many different things. It's cool when you look at it. Like when you announce at a BlizzCon, you look at this and you're like, oh god, this is nice. I'm gonna be able to customize my class so much. It's gonna be great. But then you don't necessarily really think about the consequences of all those things. You think they're gonna get it right. I try to stay optimistic all the time. You know, I'm always like, it's gonna be fine. I like to be like that, but
yeah, I tend to be like that too. I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine, I'm sure. And then I'm like wondering, like, am I actually sure? I don't know.
I'm never sure. I just pretend I am.
Yes. You know, if you say that you're
enough,
sure,
maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. If you say it enough, it'll be fine.
It's gonna be fine. At the end of the day, it's a video game. Like that's what people need to remember. But like we like it. We want it to be good. So
indeed. And
so with all the talk about how difficult to balance things, when do we think the expansion is coming? Because it still seems that there's a ton of work. Blizzard just did their October dev update, which seems very meaty. And I think it could be quite late. And then you also have the Thanksgiving and Christmas holiday wrinkles in there as well, and how does the raid fit into all this? So when do you guys think it could be launched?
I mean, there's 2 points. It either launches and we get the raid before holiday, or yeah, it launches and then we skip over the holiday. I feel like if we haven't heard any new date, I feel like it's going to push over the holiday. So I feel like we're going to get a mid-December release with early mid-December release with raid in January, because I feel otherwise if they're just delaying for 1 month at the end of like mid to late November, then we would have heard already about that new date, I feel. So
yeah,
that's my guess.
And like delaying is such a big deal that it's like if you're going to delay it, you might as well make sure that you can get everything you need done. Like you don't want a Warcraft 3 Reforged where they delayed it and then it still wasn't enough time and people got very upset. So I think they're purposely withholding the date to see how like the early October tuning comes along, and then they'll announce. But my guess, I was thinking early December, because if you delay it like 4 weeks, you're gonna run into, or like 6 weeks, you're gonna run into like November 24th. But that's American Thanksgiving, and Blizzard is usually off, so I don't know if they would launch it around that time. And then you're like, oh well, it could be later in December, and then it's, well, Blizzard historically like takes off for the second half of December, so you wouldn't be launching the raid then. Plus, it will be bad publicity because, you know, you can't have Race to World first if people have family commitment. So like that's why I'm thinking Christmas. Raid 2021. And then that actually lines up with when they did Dazar'alor and Ny'alotha. Like, January is always a good raid month, I feel.
Could the raid be delayed?
I mean, I think so. That's
we're going over
the stuff.
Yeah, because we're going over the assumption that they're always releasing X amount of week after the release of the expansion. But now that they're going with this new approach of giving us less loot, no Titan forging, no, like, you know, I mean, I guess they could still release the game and take longer to release the raid. I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know if that's possible, if that would change or affect anything.
I mean, I think that if they, well, say they did like December, I don't know, like 8th or 15th, if the raid launched on, like, say, early January, that would still be roughly like a maybe 3-week gap, which is what they've done in the past a lot of the time. So I think that would still make sense. Or if it went a little bit longer, I guess the main difference would be that you could have a slightly more time to, you know, craft, you know, Shadowlands legendaries, or you have a little more renown, so you unlock another row of soulbinds. But I mean, I feel like they can't launch the raid in late December because they don't have people around to, you know, deal with bug fixes and class tuning and hot fixes or customer support. Like, it's a very reduced amount of staff at Blizzard in late December.
Yeah, they have to take off as well. They have to take some day off. So yeah, for sure.
It feels like December 8th probably sounds like a decent time then. Potentially maybe push it to December 15th, but no later than that. 15th is a little bit late because it means there might be a few days, maybe a week of Blizzard still being like working properly or proper hours. After that, it's holidays. So maybe December 8th, especially considering pre-patch is now on the, let's see, what's the exact date? Is it 13th? Okay.
Yeah.
On the 13th, which would mean if it's December 8th, that would mean it's a 7-week pre-patch.
I think so. Yeah, 7 or 8 weeks. So it would be on the long side.
I actually have a list of all expansions.
Yeah, normally they're 4 weeks, but then I think Legion was 6 weeks because that was very deliberate. Like 3 weeks of systems and then 3 weeks of Demon Hunters if you pre-order. So
there wasn't much to do, right? So it's like it like in Legion you had Demon Hunter, but that's pretty much it, right?
Like
this time around
sword. Like there's nothing much to do, but there's a lot of system changes that I feel will cause bugs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like the whole level squish is a big deal, so even to players it's like, okay, big deal, like, you know, my 8 hours of leveling is now different, but I'm still doing it fast. I'm sure the scaling is going to cause a lot of errors. So.
Oh, for sure. But I feel a lot of people are excited about it. They want to try the new island. They want to try the leveling experience. They want to, you know, they want to get started on that. And I think I was actually getting like with the further we were going into this and we didn't hear about a date, I was like, oh, people are not going to be able to level. And like the free patch is going to last like 2 to 3 weeks. That's not going to be long enough, right? And then they announced the delay. So I mean, I guess that's going to be cool. People are going to be able to play with that without necessarily having the ghouls to ruin it or whatever, the zombie event, which is going to be later. So
I have a visual here of all the different expansions and how many weeks of pre-patch that they had. And Perk, you can go ahead and say what you wanted to say.
I was going to say that we went from having the pre-patch be speculated to be the shortest possible one of 2 to 3 weeks to now something that could potentially be pretty much on the longer side. So why don't we actually talk about the pre-patch and then we'll circle back to refunds. I know we had the first show notes.
Yeah. I think this this fits nicely. The pre-patch is official. It is coming out on October 13th. There will be no zombie invasion on this date, and the invasion itself has not been officially announced yet, as far as I know.
No, it's just going to be staggered, so we assume a few weeks of things like the leveling changes, you try out the new abilities, the mentor system, the profession changes.
Corruptions is inactivated.
And then several weeks after that, we get the zombie invasion. We know there are at least 2 weeks of it because the way the quests are broken up. We don't know if it's going to be like, oh, you have 1 week for the first quest and then 2 weeks for the second quest, or how, 2 weeks of both or 1 week of each. We don't know how all that's going to play out. When we thought the pre-patch was really short, we assumed it was 1 week for each, but maybe they can really stagger it now. And I think people are looking forward to the zombie invasion, at least.
It's kind of interesting if you look at the Cataclysm there. It looks exactly like the release schedule we would have now. Yeah. The pre-patch released on October 12th, and then we got some events happening along the way, and then the release was on December 7th. So
yeah,
that seems to line up perfectly. That would line up perfectly with what we're expecting right now.
Yeah, and I could see them doing something to the effect of maybe they drop the zombie invasion around Thanksgiving week, and like that's not really something new or strenuous on Blizzard's end, but if you're at home in the US, you have something fun to do with the long holiday weekend.
Exactly.
And then you have fun with that. Black Friday is always sort of a weird day where people don't play as much, so maybe Blizzard's like, okay, like, look, new thing to do, make sure after you buy all your stuff you come back and play WoW, so that could be a good hook.
I mean, how much is that going to affect it this year, so
yeah,
people are going to be stuck at home most of the case. I mean, stuck at home, it depends where you live, but
well, they'll all tab out of WoW to buy their stuff.
Yeah, exactly. We're just going to be playing WoW, repressing F5 and crashing websites.
Yeah.
I need to share some Instagram pictures of dinners so my parents or my family doesn't think I'm on the computer all day.
But yeah.
Yeah, so. I think it's also interesting. I don't know if you remember, Perk, but a few weeks ago, or maybe months ago at this point, when we discussed the pre-patch initially, when we had no idea of any dates or anything, we actually expected the pre-patch to be a longer one. And the reason for that was this revamp or this level squish is the first time of anything like it happening. We have never had, or not anything like it. So we've had things like item level being squished, we've had damage numbers or just numbers in general being squished, but we've never had level being squished. And it's really interesting to see how old content will come along with that. And speaking of old content, we also have this new thing with Chromie. It's basically like time walking, but for leveling for your alts. We have it's a big core of the game, which is essentially changing. So having a longer patch actually makes more sense, because then you want to have some focus on the leveling itself, the change in general, having a new level where your alts end up, and managing all those things, that things aren't bugged, to then worry about the event itself that leads into the new expansion.
Going back to Cataclysm, the parallel Lux was just making, the Cataclysm pre-patch was staggered to where the old world revamp occurred, before, there was a few weeks where people had to adjust to the questing change. And this pre-patch is the leveling changes are pretty massive on the scale of Cataclysm. One could even argue more because it doesn't just revamp Azeroth, it affects every single continent on top expansion. Of the item level and level squish. So people need to adjust to that, and as we'll discuss in the show, Blizzard has also been, things are coming to light about leveling, and that system is coming next week, and people are surprised at how some things work. And I feel like there's going to be adjustments that have to be made. Like, for example, people just realized that the Premade Group Finder only is accessible at 50. And then people are like, well, what happens if I want to do, Herald of the Titans? What's going to happen to that? Or we've known for a long time that Warlord's bonus objectives were really OP for experience. And that just got nerfed. And now it's like, is that going to cause other issues? So I feel that there's going to be a lot of last minute experience buffing, nerfing, discovering other quests that are really OP, or power leveling that shouldn't be intended, like having a player run you through dungeons with some weird scaling. I feel like there's going to be a lot of these things popping up if Blizzard is just fine-tuning that now, and that's coming next week.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's an automated system. That's the thing. Like, if we're talking about the Cataclysm experience, it was handcrafted. So they redid everything manually. This time around, it's a lot of automated things. So it's a lot of, okay, so we have all of these dial. Because they've been preparing for this for a long time. So they knew they were going to come up to this. So they prepared it so they have a tuning knob. They can just tune it down. Everything in the game just goes down. And so it's automated. So there's going to be problems that are going to occur out of it for sure. So I guess the longer pre-patch is going to serve as a mini beta, because I feel like, people don't necessarily, there is people like Des Mephisto, he's going to be leveling stuff, but there's not a lot of people that are doing it, so there's not a lot of people that everybody want to go look at their new class, at their new ability, at Covenants, at Shadowlands. So there's not a lot of people that go through that leveling scenario, and they're the one finding all the bugs, but it's a couple people's team. So it's not gonna, we need more people. So I feel like the pre-patch is going to help with that, which I hope it's not going to cause too much trouble. At the end of the day, I don't think it's going to break the game that much. Like, sure, there's going to be some bugs. Some people are going to level super fast here and there, but like at the end of the day, it's just, they're going to get fixed, and then it's going to be fun afterward. It's not breaking. It's not like power level increase, which breaks the game a little bit more, or it's just, I don't want to say it's just leveling, but it's, it's just leveling. Yeah. The experience has been super short, and so, yeah, exactly. Oh God, they got me.
Blizzard needed more people testing leveling, because I think they've done more beta character wipes this time than they have in the past. Like, they just did another one, what was it, last week? So to me, that shows that they need more they're forcing people to actually level again to get more passive data on the systems. So
I'm wondering how many people are actually leveling, like, because it feels like most people are in Torghast right now, just creating a template character and going through to do their one quest, getting the soul bind, getting the 2 ability, and then spamming Mythic Plus, right?
Yeah, I think the common player is definitely testing out things in the end game, because we have created this way of playing the game where only the end game really matters. But there are people who are spending a lot of time leveling too and noticing things, which is nice for the rest of us. But most people don't actually spend that much time in there, which is also, I think, what is causing these sort of unexpected question marks, which might not affect you and I or most people that much, but it's still interesting. Like, we're jumping topics a little bit here, but Perk mentioning the Premade Group Finder, for example, not having a Premade Group Finder until level 50. It's like you're not allowed to look for friends to do things together, especially if you might have a specific achievement that you're going for, like Herald of the Titans, because you have to be low level for that. Is that an oversight, or is that something that doesn't matter? It's small things like that. And then also another thing which is interesting is when you hit level 50 in Chromie time, it kind of just boots you out. Like, you literally just get kicked out.
That's what I heard.
You hit level 50 and then you're just like, boom, you're like Hearthstoned out. And then it's also, it's not maybe a big deal. It's not game breaking or anything, but it's interesting that things are like that. If
I can understand some of the decision, but it's, it feels like an oversight for sure.
Something we also discussed in past shows, Annie, was we were kind of calling this. We were like, hey, you know, casual people are really interested in leveling, but they're the people that don't have the schedules to test a feature nonstop. So Blizzard might suddenly realize that they have all these oversights and bugs if the pre-patch goes live. And we were speculating that maybe Blizzard would even do like open beta or open leveling weekends like they were trying to do with Classic, where everyone could test a very specific part of the game for a few days.
Yeah,
and they made it into a celebration. Like, we were always wondering about that, because leveling is really important for the casuals, but those are the people that are not, they're just going to log in and want to level. They're not going to be the people that are, playing it during the day. They're not streamers. They have other jobs, and
yeah, exactly.
You need that feedback. So I was thinking they would do weekends, encourage people, especially with, BFA dragging on so long. You could do it as like a little pandemic fun. But that's apparently not the case. So I guess we'll get the extended pre-patch to, iron everything out.
Yeah, I was expecting them to do a mass, like an open beta type of stuff with the delay happening. But I guess maybe the servers aren't ready for that. I don't know. I don't know the behind the scene if they need more stuff to have, because when you invite that many people, like everything starts, breaking a little bit.
Yeah, remember for Mists? I think they remember with Mists, if you bought a Teriel's charger, you would then get into the beta. So I mean,
that was a lot of people.
But yeah, that was, and I mean, I think it worked out well. Like, I think people enjoy. I feel like Mist didn't have.
I feel like I remember the beta being almost unplayable for a while because there was too many people.
Yeah, and I remember even with beta flagging, there were issues with Wowhead and keys, because it's like, we want to give you guys keys, but like, we're overwhelmed with all these people we have to flag and get them on. But yeah, I just hope that I just hope that Blizzard has good PR. I feel like initially people were very happy and understanding that Blizzard was delaying things, but I think people still need to keep in mind that, hey, pre-patch is next week, and the leveling seems kind of under-tested, and, this isn't like indefinite delays on launch. It's still a few months, and as we've seen, there are still, covenants are still really complicated, so it's still going to be really tricky balancing act. I don't want people to be like, oh, they delayed it and it still was, it still had issues, because
that's the problem. It's a double-edged sword, because you get sympathy from people. You go like, okay, you guys did the right thing. That's cool. And then everybody was super positive about it and kind of happy. But then they have to not mess up, because otherwise the sword's going to come swinging back. Like, people are going to be like, okay, so we waited a whole month and then you guys, it's still not working.
You wasted my week of vacation time.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to come back. But like, if they do it right, people are going to be happy. If they do it wrong, it's, they have to get this right. But like, talking about leveling, that's the thing. You were talking about how it's a little bit more of a casual experience. Like, some people take it super seriously, but it's the entry point for everyone. And like, I did leveling from 50 to 60, like maybe 4 times. And each 4 times I stopped because there was so many issues. Like, I was getting stuck on quests. There was things not working. I literally gave up. I never got a single character to 60. Not a single one.
Yeah, we have
either I was getting stuck somewhere, or like, I just got tired of it.
How recent was this?
Last week, before they did the reset. Right before they did the reset, I made a freshly new character, got stuck multiple times, had to go back and do like grinding because I wasn't high level enough to get to the next zone. I was like, oh boy, okay. And then I went back and did Mythic Plus on Torghast.
That's interesting, because those things of not being high enough level to do something, those are the exact kind of bugs that you can expect with something which is meant to be automated, like you said, because they're simply just, like you said, turning this thing and just tuning everything down and hope that everything just works by itself.
Yeah, it feels like that. But this is
like it should, but it doesn't always.
This is the handcrafted experience of the new expansion, though. Like, like it's not. It didn't get tuned or anything. That's how they created it, and I'm getting stuck everywhere. Like, I got into a quest in Maldraxxus where I finished the whole zone. Oh. Yeah. I got into a zone, got into Maldraxxus, finished the entire zone, get into the main temple, and then I just see the quest giver there with a gray question mark over a gray interrogation mark for a new quest, and I'm like, oh, I can't progress. I'm done. And then I try to go back out. The doors close, and then I can't move out. And I'm like, oh no. I had to earth out, go do optional quests, get high level enough, go back there. I was like, okay. So I mean, obviously those are easy bugs to fix, but it's still kind of scary a little bit. So
yeah, like I have a few people I've assigned to Wowhead writing up the story guides, Covenant campaign guides. and that stuff is changing every week. And there are bugs, so like you can't progress past things. Like I think Night Fae was maybe unbroken for like one build. So a lot of people don't know what happens at the end because they can't progress to it. And it's just very difficult if we're trying to get a order of quests to actually just play through the whole thing, because like I said, like they might delete the section from the Maw in a Covenant, or one week there's 9 chapters and there's 6, then there's 8. And it seems that if they're saying the quest stuff is the polished part of Shadowlands, that still has a lot of bugs too. And I know people are very concerned that even Bastion leveling up seems to have bugs, and that was the earliest zone that you could play on the alpha, which sort of goes back to what I was saying with the leveling bugs with like the Warlord's treasures that people saw very early on. If that stuff is just being addressed now, then like there's a lot of bugs that are maybe 5 months old that still need to be squashed.
Yeah, for sure. There's like bugs right now which I have often with the Torghast server, but I never know if it's because it's like an automated character creation thing, so it might create bugs. But for example, the Ysera bug, when you finish the Night Fae quest line that you have to go back to the town, it never works. I'm never able to click on Ysera to go back. I have to enable war mode in Ugramar, go back, and then try to have her glitch in, and then she becomes clickable. And I'm like, okay, let's lunch.
Yeah, I think
let's
another Covenant thing was how, I mean, we're saying that they're changing conduits, and we can talk about that soon, but people just couldn't test the system for a while in like
it was
late
super
August
bugged
and early September. Like your conduit paths were just all over the place. They weren't following any rhyme or reason, or like you'd log on and everything would be locked again. So Blizzard definitely lost a few weeks of
and it took a long time. Like
lucky.
I don't understand why it took so long. Sometimes I guess that's why, like, I feel like a lot of people were giving feedback on that too. Like I was just like, every time it happened, I would literally open the ticket and be like, okay, so this is still not where I just lost a conduit again. Just walking around, the conduit magically disappeared. So I mean, it's probably a lot more complicated than we think. So we look at it and we're like, yeah, just fix it. But I mean, obviously it's not that simple. So but yeah, it's scary because there's a lot of things to fix. There's
it almost feels like
Shadowlands
Shadowlands is just in early beta right now. Like I feel the assumptions were like, oh, it's alpha and they're ahead because they've got all the base class changes. And then, oh, we're moving into beta, and look, we have all the zones, and aren't they so pretty? And they had all these interviews that were keeping us updated with things. And then it's like they just hit this wall when they started introducing, like we're saying, like all of these systems. And it's like, oh, wow, like now when you put all these other systems on top of the game, it's looking less polished, and we actually don't have time for interviews. And then stuff slowed down a lot more, and the perception shifted from Blizzard being ahead of schedule with these really pretty polished zones to
be behind.
Yeah, like, oh, it looks really cool, but now they added all these new things, and now everything is wildly broken.
I'm not sure. Oh, so go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like we're talking about how the questing and everything is bugged, but I guess that's not super complicated to fix, right? It's they know exactly what's fixed.
But then why
so I'm
isn't
not
it fixed,
too worried
right?
about. Yeah, I guess so. Is there like a team that's just on questing and they're supposed to be fixing those things, or is there more things they're trying to put focus on onto? But yeah, I get the same questioning. I'm like, okay, so this should be easy to fix. Maybe that's why it's not. So, but why not do it now, right? So that's what's scary about this a little bit, but. I'm trying to stay positive a little bit, but
yeah,
maybe
on top
of that,
focus on pre-patch as opposed to like, oh well, it's sad that Night Fae Chapter 5 Covenant Sanctum is bugged, but that's not coming next week, guys. So
I feel like they have to get those class things done because the patch is going to release. So like, who cares about the questing in Shadowland if we're not going to see that for another 2 months? So like, they can keep working on that and fix that later, but. Literally, like a couple weeks ago, we got talent changes all over the place again, and like classes losing ability, and like, so it's close to a pre-patch to have these things happen. So
yeah, I was expecting there to be a lot of bugs and a lot of weird things happening in the pre-patch leveling in the lower levels, but I guess I didn't realize that the quests are that empty at this point of the beta. I've heard that there's been a lot of bugs and things, but I see a comment in the chat as well. Maybe I can't take it for like 100%, but apparently he has done every quest he's able to do, and he's got another level to go, so he's mining to get to 60 now.
I've heard things to that effect, like, you know, like, oh, like this, you know, Bastion gives a ton of XP, but then Maldraxxus doesn't really, so like you might have to find extra, you know, side quests or do some dungeons.
Yeah. And
I've seen the same result.
Strange, because I feel like you should be able to get to max level with playing through the story, and if it's that easy to miss the side quests, then maybe something should be done to guide you there in a way.
Yeah. I mean, you should be able to level just for the story quests, right? I mean, the optional, I mean, maybe you get like one or 2 HUD, and yeah, exactly. You shouldn't need to search for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the pre-patch, like we've talked about the zombie invasion being fun whenever it happens. Does it seem like there's enough for max level players to do in the pre-patch before the invasion? Because, you know, the corruption hijinks are going away, the whole system is going away, so you can't do wild things with it. A lot of the end game rewards are going away, like the Mythic Plus mount or the Faceless One title. So, you know, I feel like the zombie invasion should be sooner than later, because yeah, you can level alts through Chromie time, but if you're a max level player, it's going to be kind of a weird limbo situation without a ton to do, and even some of the quote returning abilities are not going to be in the pre-patch because you unlock them from level 50 to 60. So it may feel kind of incomplete and, you know, not so great with all of, you know, with some parts of your toolkit.
I feel like what's going to happen is people are going to try. I mean, I know I'm going to do this, and I know a lot of people are going to do that as well, and hopefully that's going to be enough. But people are going to try to find a weird build because things are going to break, right? And that's where things get fun. So, for example, if you look at, I already know some Warlock are going to go with like Vision of Perfection, and they're going to try to break this infinite resetting Inferno that's going to reign from forever, and it's going to be fun, right? It's going to break. Everything's going to be a mess, but people are going to enjoy that. I feel it's that part of the game where nothing makes sense anymore, nothing matters, and let's just have fun. And I feel like that's what people are gonna do. I mean, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go around and try to find fun builds and break things, you know?
I wish we still had corruptions during pre-patch, and I wish at that point, at last, they would remove the rotation vendor thing and just have all corruptions available, because I feel like we never really got a chance to play around with it.
I just want to delete all that gear. I'm excited for pre-patch to clean my bags. I want that thing out.
I mean, that's fair enough. Okay, that's a fair enough look at it as well. But in that case, I think it should have happened now, maybe in the past month or two. I just feel like I never really felt like I ever had fun with corruption. It was first it was locked behind not getting it on the right pieces, and then later it's locked behind a vendor, and then finding out the vendor is on a rotation. Like I don't know. I feel like when they added the vendor, that was a chance for corruption to become decent, and then it being on rotation kind of ruined that as well. And
did you play much at the end of the past? Because I feel like I play a lot, but I feel like I got to have every piece of corruption that I needed. Like that's the reason I don't play retail anymore. There's nothing to chase anymore. I just have everything right now.
So I did get everything that I needed for sure. I have lots of extra as well, but I wanted to be feeling a lot more free, so I can swap and play around with different kind of builds. For example, I want to try like full gushing wounds as a warlock. I just want to see how it feels like. For example, it's something I didn't buy because, well, it's not considered that good. So I bought like haste build, mastery builds, versatility builds, but I didn't feel like I had the freedom to swap completely and just go, I guess, crazy with any kind of build. And that's, I think, the part that I guess a missed opportunity to make the corruptions cheaper and remove the rotation vendor at least a month ago.
Yeah, for sure.
I also feel if you're like a casual player that maybe took a break from WoW and you started to think about it again when you got that end of season email or when you saw the Shadowlands delayed message, if you're like, oh, you know, pre-patch is coming in a week or two, let me get back into it, you could have missed a chance to have your best corruption on the vendor, since it was only a week or two. So it would be cool for those players to log in and be like, oh, you know, I got a week to get everything done. Let me just, you know, try out a bunch of stuff and like binge on corruptions and like spend the whole weekend playing and doing fun things.
And try things that are not considered good, like a full Twilight Devastation build as a caster, you know, like just things like that, I think would be fun.
Don't do it. Don't do it. We need stay in range. We don't need more melees. No, but seriously, I agree with that part though, because it's actually funny because you just made me think of that. It's usually at the end of the expansion, one thing that I enjoy doing is getting as much gear as possible to just make my leveling experience like that much more little fast. I'm just like that. I like to optimize even though it's not going to make any difference, but that's one thing I enjoyed at the end of Legion going into Battle for Azeroth. I wanted to have the best legendary and the best gear setup possible just to get ready for that small leveling experience session. And it felt fun. And I was excited to have to do that for Shadowland. And then when they announced they were going to remove it, I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not doing that. Bye. I'm not playing retail anymore. I literally, I don't have anything to go for right now because I have every BIS item possible. If the only thing I can chase right now is corruption and you're going to remove that, then I guess like I'm not going to play retail. I'm just going to spend all my time on beta, which is what I've been doing.
Even the time walking changes. Like when people learned that time walking in Shadowlands requires level 50, aka max BFA level, a lot of people started to reminisce how they had fun in the past, you know, collecting old item sets and having, you know, OP legendary procs using legendaries from past expansions. And now we even learned that, you know, the Legion legendaries don't work. And a lot of people were kind of hoping they would so they could have a fun time walking set or a fun, you know, leveling set with interesting procs. So people like having, it's almost like classic. People like having some sort of unique best in slot or
like different sets.
You know, static thing they can have fun going out and farming or crafting for different situations.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't really know why they're taking that out. Like, it definitely was a fun aspect to it. One of the only reason I did time walking was that I kept my old collection of old legendaries, and I like to use them sometimes and go back and do funny stuff. Like when I discovered, I mean, I didn't discover it, but when I was told that the ring from Mechagon was breaking and time walking, you would do absurd damage from the proc of the ring. And it's fun and it doesn't break the game. Like it doesn't hurt anyone. And you just have that little new thing you can do now, you know?
It's like,
it's a little sandbox thing that nobody cares about. Like it doesn't even give good rewards. It's just there for either leveling or getting that weekly quest done, you know? So why not let it go nuts a little bit, you know? But I guess, I don't know. So maybe there's a reason they're going to block it. But.
Since we have an hour left on the show, we should probably highlight some of the other news pretty quickly, including, and then have a discussion on the October. So the final thing I just wanted to say on the pre-patch Shadowlands delays was maybe not relevant to you if you're watching the show because you are interested in Shadowlands, but a hot topic on Wowhead was refunds. Blizzard did send an email offering refunds for the Shadowlands pre-order. And there are some drawbacks that you may not think of if for whatever reason you wanted the cash temporarily back. Allied Race Death Knights locked if you get the refund. The boosted character is locked. And if you gifted it to a friend and then forgot you gifted it to them and then got a refund, your friend then you know, has that, it doesn't have Shadowlands and also has their character locked.
Yeah, I was memeing a little bit with that because I give Epic Shadowland away every Friday on my stream, and I was like, okay, I'm refunding all of them. Sorry, guys.
Oh God.
Just a PSA. On that. And another thing is the reputation buff is back for October. So when Blizzard announced the delays, they said, hey, reputation buff is back for the whole month. Oh, and by the way, this means it's active during the pre-patch. So I guess if you're leveling during like Legion or BFA Chromie time, you have a slight reputation advantage there.
Yeah. I find it weird, the refund thing. Like, it's just like if you pre-ordered that game, how it is at some point you just went back into, like, I understand, like, not everybody, like, there's things happening, like, there's a lot of things going on right now with people losing their job and everything, but
there might be a legal reason.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Blizzard Yeah, of course Blizzard mentions it, but I find it weird that people are legit
that they would do
refunding.
Yeah,
that because like if you're gonna pre-order, we all know you're gonna play, right? Like, we all know you're gonna play Shadowland. There's no stopping WoW. You know, you're done forever.
It's not out on the date that I wanted. I am not playing this expansion.
We all know you're gonna buy it again.
Maybe you
know?
get like the regular version versus Epic. I don't know. I was surprised to see the post doing so well, but you don't know. Like maybe someone was like, oh, you know, this other game is now coming out in the fall, and I want to put my gaming budget towards this other game, or oh, you know, maybe
that's true.
Going into holidays, and I need to like, I wish I could, you know, buy gifts for my kids instead. Maybe I'll downsize to like regular Shadowlands versus mega expensive Shadowlands.
No, that's actually a really good point.
Yeah, I was surprised.
If they are taking that time off to be at home and they can't play Shadowlands, maybe in that time they would prefer to refund that to play to buy a different game, and then go with buying Shadowlands with the next paycheck or something.
I feel like if you pre-order Shadowland, you're pretty hardcore into it. You know, like you're not like like if you pre-order it, you kind of know. You know, you've been there for a while. You know,
going to, but maybe it's just to like relocate the budget for now to buy some other games for that time.
Yeah. A lot of people were really surprised when we did we got so many comments being like, what happens to my boosted character? What happens to my allied race? So I wonder if people have even refunded a game before, because I thought it was kind of common sense that, you know, when you get a refund, you don't get to keep the perks, but a lot of people needed that reiterated, especially the boost you got from the pre-order. People were really surprised that the boosted character would be locked. And it's like,
want the things I bought
of the pre-order. Yeah,
I mean, sometimes they do. Sometimes company do like little gifts like that. You know, when you return something on Amazon, sometimes they just go like, you know what, keep the shipping cost, whatever. We'll just, you know, keep the item. We'll just refund you. You know, you didn't enjoy it, whatever. You know.
Yeah, I've had that. I guess people with clothing companies, but I feel like it's just.
I guess it just feels weird to have locked characters on your account, right? Like, no one has probably experienced that, so it's kind of weird. Like, wait, so if I refund, I can't play this character anymore because it's technically part of the expansion? That's weird. I feel like they think that people would...
better.
Sorry,
like, if you moused over the lock, like, suppose you refunded pre-order, if it was like, you know, this, if they specifically said it was tied to Shadowlands and that's why it's locked, I think some of the confusion would be cleared up. Or if they put this information directly on the refund page, because when I was covering the news, I had to like piece together like 4 different customer service blue posts to it wasn't on one
understand
page.
What's going on.
Yeah, it wasn't like master lists of, you know, stuff that happens when you get a refund. So I think the messaging could have
for sure. But I think some people already found, because I mean, like from what we've seen at Blizzard, like they usually don't argue too much. Like if you just message them and you're like, hey, you know what? Like, I don't think I'm going to be able to play. Can I get a refund? They're usually not going to argue about that stuff. So like, I think some people already refunded and they saw that their character was going to get luck and all of that. But I mean, I think it's fine. It's, you know, you're pretty much going to buy it again at some point. It's just a matter of time. Or if it's not, then you're not going to care anymore anyway, because you're not going to really play the game. I mean, I don't know anyone that plays the game without having the latest expansion, unless you're leveling and enjoying the, you know, the first few level. But you know,
it's not going to matter too much. You can't even log into it.
Yeah,
you can log into the account, but then on the character selection screen,
you just
be a lock.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Why don't we talk about this fresh news? Oh, unless you have something.
I was gonna say just one small thing, more of a reminder. Actually, never mind. You already mentioned this. I was gonna mention the reputation buff, but I think you mentioned it, didn't you?
Yeah, we were just saying it was like a nice little perk.
Yeah. Just a nice little perk for people like me who might still be missing their rank 4 essence from certain reputations. I'm missing Oldham, so I'm doing those dailies now with this 100% reputation perk. But yeah, that's the last thing on pre-patch, really. I think we should jump into the Blizzard October update. A big blue post.
Yeah, so we are getting Blizzard, with their extra time, is now talking about what they're focusing on for October. And they are saying they agree the Maw is kind of lackluster, and they're to try to make it more dangerous and have more visual interest, so it's not just, you know, mud brown and feel empty. They are saying they're full swing with class and covenant balance, and then the juiciest part is on conduits, which you know,
that was interesting.
Suddenly learning lots about, and it keeps changing every week. So
Yeah, that was a big one. I wasn't expecting that. I feel like that didn't do much. So I feel like people were very, very vocal about what they wanted for this feature, and I feel like we got a little bit of
to get like I feel like they just like so if you missed the blue post, basically they are changing how the weekly cooldown on conduits work to a new system with these like charges currency. When you add in a new conduit, you get a conduit charge. And then the charges stack up to 10. That this means that you can make 7 charges a week. And when you add a new conduit to your collection, you get a conduit charge as well. So you can swap them a bit more freely, but now at least I'm seeing concerns that you can game the system by like putting all these conduits in your bags, and then you learn them when you want to do like a massive conduit swap.
Exactly.
You know, like you stockpile them, so it feels like maybe this isn't totally thought out or polished at this point.
I don't understand where this is going. Like, it's just, I mean, they're trying something, but I guess I don't, like the first thing I thought was the same thing as like we read that I was like, oh, so now I'm gonna go farm Mythic Dungeon to try to get my new conduit so I can get more resets so I can. That sounds weird. I don't know.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, oh, you know, like now this is like this. We have yet another, you know, currency or system to deal.
Oh
with.
Yeah.
And it's just like we have like currency on top of currency.
The vendor on the beta is now gonna sell anima, honor points, conduit charge. Just you go at the dude and you're like, I don't know where I want. I'm just gonna click all of that.
Exactly. Stygia, how you pronounce it, Stygia, the mall currency.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one as well.
Yeah, and because that's tied to buying conduits and sockets as well. So
I think it's
so many things.
I think if you read the system just like that with a fresh mind, I think it sounds pretty interesting. You start with 10 charges, you can change things up, and you use up a charge whenever you put in a new conduit. If you find a new one and you have already used up all your charges, don't worry, it'll give you a new charge so you can still use that new conduit that you just looted. Obviously this is an improvement to what it was before, but the problem is that it's not needed.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the issue.
It's an improvement, but like it's not like nobody wants this.
Needed. Yeah, because we want to freely change things around and play around with this, as we have a lot of other things that we are sort of rigidly locked into. So we don't need yet another system, yet another currency to change our character. I think that's the main concern that people have. That we wanted a very simple solution, which was just remove the cooldown, to now the devs are sitting there like creating this new separate system with a new charging. It's more time on them as well, and it just feels like it's not needed.
Yeah, and I feel like it's gonna look super weird when you're watching people prepare for raids, and it's like, oh, so-and-so is doing the normal mode clear or their mythic dungeons with 0 conduits socketed because they're all holding onto them in their bag for when mythic opens and they need to change for the boss.
Exactly.
I think we're gonna see some really weird
we're gonna see degenerate gameplay out of this, and it seems like Blizzard always try to prevent degenerate gameplay, and then this one opens up a brand new way of doing it.
And I guess the stacking, even with the delays.
Would the stacking be fixed if they remove the maximum 10?
Yeah, it would be. But the thing is, I feel like the only thing they needed to do was just have it be spec base. Have it be spec base. Allow me to reset maybe like a full reset every 2-3 days. I don't know. Like, just if you have it spec base, it's already so much better. And then whatever you want to do for the limitation process. I mean, gold for me was kind of okay. Like, I didn't mind it. Like, it stopped me from abusing the system, but I could play the game to actually get more. So, like, if I could get those conduit energy in any way by playing the game, that would make a lot more sense to me. Like, I got to reset my spec. I want to play Frost tonight on my raid. I'm just missing 1 conduit energy. Let me go do this couple of quests and I'll get 1 more and I'll be able to reset my conduit, right? Like, sure, it's not perfect, but if that's really what they want to do, have it be spec specific, and then allow me to farm those energy in a non-timer with like a non-time gated way.
Yeah.
Allow me to put time into the game. Yeah, exactly. Remove the cap. Allow me to farm them. I mean, if they remove the cap, then it's going to create this thing where I'm just going to do this all time because I want to get as many just in case, you know, it's going to create this.
Like
maybe, I mean, you're going to want to stack like millions of them. So you kind of, you know, so probably the cap's probably needed. I mean, none of this is needed, but if we want to go with their path, or if we want to stay in the limitation of not abusing the freely modifying, just have it be spec based and allow me to farm the energy in some way so I can just play the game to get it, you know?
Yeah, it's just, even with the Shadowlands delays, it still feels really late to start learning about how one of the major systems works, because we also had the blue post from the week before explaining how Covenant ranks scale with item level, and
that was
people
also late
for the first time started discovering like, oh, you know, like a Mythic 0 gives this rank, and then like a Mythic 5 gives this rank, but we're just starting to learn that. Like, we don't really know how conduits from raids work. We don't know the full picture, and it seems just very late to understand how this system works, even with the delay.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a little bit. It's late, but you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it was bugs for so long, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
So like we couldn't even see how it behaved because we kept having to redo new characters to bypass the whole thing. So
how was it before the 1 week cooldown again? I forgot. Conduits.
It wasn't locked at all. Like, we could just swap everything as we wanted to.
They got destroyed, right? So you'd have to refarm them. Gotcha.
And then they made the system.
Yeah.
Like an essence.
That means these systems are just kind of like made on the go.
Yeah.
It feels like it. And it goes back to what I was saying, that it seems that with the cakes and the cupcakes, or just like the energy being put into these temporary things, it's like, it's cool to have some variance in class gameplay between expansions, but this has a lot of systems, and they are trying so many systems for something that is just temporary. You know, like conduits are not going to be a thing in the expansion after Shadowlands.
I mean, they're putting energy into it, but like, they don't have to. That's the problem. Right. Like, I just feel like we could just move along and just have this awesome new talent system that you can take away at any point, but let us use it like a talent system, you know? I'm okay with it going away, but let me use it while I play the game, you know? Like, I don't mind having some restriction. I understand why they have restriction. I don't mind having a gold cost. I don't mind having something to prevent completely. I mean, even then, like, I say that, and I don't even believe I agree with what I'm saying right now. Like, it's just have it freely changeable. I'm okay with covenants being locked. I'm okay with that whole thing with just, while I'm not super excited for it, I still understand why they're doing it. They want you to make a meaningful choice. Okay, we get it. But the conduit, let me play with it, right? I love to swap constantly. I love to play every spec. I love to do all types of content, and this right now is going to prevent me from doing that, at least to the maximum of the to the best of my capabilities, or min-maxing in that situation. So
I think my view on it is yeah, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I just was saying that I feel that you know, while people make jokes that, oh, you know, we lost a raid tier because of this, or you can't make comparisons between what the art team is working on versus what the game devs are working on, but it feels that a lot of energy has been put into systems, and then putting a band-aid system on top of that system, and then further elaborating on it, and you wonder what cool like patch content or other content could be made if they weren't, you know, trying to reinvent conduits, you know, 5 times, or coming up with something really complicated to address something that maybe is flawed.
So what I was gonna say on a similar idea, actually, I feel like this change can potentially work. I do see that maybe the top level players might start doing that thing of hoarding items to you know, potentially change builds in time for a raid or similar. I think for most regular casual players this will be a fine system, but the main complaint is that it's just not needed. So any time that was put into coding this or even thinking about this system just feels wasted. That's the main thing.
Like, I'm thinking about BFA, and I don't know how much of this is true, but a lot of people were saying that when Blizzard had to suddenly like revamp Azerite and add the Essence system, it feels like other parts of the expansion maybe fell by the wayside or didn't get developed as much. Like, you know, Blizzard hyped up Warfronts a lot, and then there was, you know, those data mined hints that we'd be getting more, and like that seemed to, you know, not really be a thing after 8.1. Or, you know, people were like, hey, like the Old God story felt kind of rushed and there wasn't a ton besides 8.3. It feels like their influence was, you know, pretty localized. Like they've been in zones, and it, I don't know, kind of feels that having to create a new system takes resources from other content in the game. And, you know, maybe looking back, we'll be like, oh yeah, you know, maybe instead of all these conduit complications, we could have gotten, I don't know, like another Torghast event or interesting dungeon mode, or, you know, something else that had replayability.
If you look at like the most enjoy expansion, they didn't have a lot of replayability, right? Like if we didn't have Mythic Plus, we had a couple of daily hubs, we had raids and PvP, and that's it. But what made them fun was how the class played. Like people enjoyed playing their class; they felt good. You know, if you look back at Mist of Pandaria, for example, like before Timeless Isle, obviously Timeless Isle was a massive zone and all that stuff. But if you look at those kind, like class design was good. People enjoyed playing their class. They enjoyed rocking new alts, which was one of the things, right? You just got onto a new alt, you started learning your new spell and all your new stuff, and it just felt good. And that's all you need. Things just need to feel good, and then you'll create content on your own, right? I mean, it's if playing X class and X specs feels good for you, you're gonna do whatever you need to just do stuff, you know. And obviously, it's gonna be different for everybody. Not everybody enjoyed mob, not everybody enjoyed their class back then, but it's just a general opinion that people had, right? It's if things feel good, you're just gonna try to play the game. You're not really. And now we have all of those new repeatable systems, which are amazing, but then we just got to make the class feel good. And right now, if I'm forced to not have that conduit that makes my Death Coil do 30% more damage when I get a Sudden Doom proc, well, I was doing this on the beta right now. I want to go back to Frost, but I can't because that specific Soulbind that I need, that is really, really strong for Mythic Plus, is currently locked for 2 more days. So I cannot change the conduit on that character. So I just don't play Frost. That's the answer. I don't go out and play Frost on a non-min-max way where I'm going to do 5 to 10% less damage. I'm just not going to do it. And that's not good for the game. That's just not good. I should be able to just go there and do whatever, because it feels good. Like Frost feels really, really good right now. I'm enjoying it. But I can't play it because I know I'm going to be playing a weaker version of it. So why would I do that?
Yeah,
you know,
it doesn't feel good. If you know that something is weaker, you just don't want to play it, even if the difference may not be that big.
It's frustrating. You're looking at your damage done and you're like, oh God, I'm doing so poorly. It must be because of...
And like a new expansion should be when people are experimenting, especially with how Blizzard is, you know, trying to revamp things and bring back abilities. And you don't want the gut reaction to be like, well, I can't play this because like I'm too weak. Like, that's not the message you want to be sending out. And I know that Blizzard doesn't control Twitch, but you also, like, so many people, I mean, you know, like, you go, everyone is like, what class is best? What should I play? Oh, I was watching a stream and I saw so-and-so. And people, even if Blizzard makes a blue post or not, they're just going to absorb this idea that you can't, like, oh, you know, Shadowlands is so complex, I can only play, like, one spec one way, right? And all the other specs are weaker. People will just naturally have that idea if they see streamers, people that have so much more time to play than them, thinking that, you know, they don't have the time or resources to make another spec as strong.
Yeah.
And speaking of,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm kind of changing the topic, so maybe you should go for it.
No, you can go ahead. So it's all good.
I was gonna say, or it's not exactly changing the topic, but conduits being it's a system within a system, right? So when covenants are removed, or well, in one way, one shape or form inactivated for the next expansion, it's the soul binds will probably be gone with that as well, and then the conduits will be gone with that as well. So working on a system like conduits feels like such a waste of time when it's not a system which will live on later. If we want to spend time on potentially improving a system, then we could look at talent system, or we could look at considering having a glyph system back, because that's what a lot of the conduits are even compared to, having a glyph system. I think it just feels kind of sad to spend time on a system within a system that's not needed at all, and it's only for the expansion itself.
One layer would have probably been okay. We're at 3 right now, so like we could have sacrificed one of those layer, remove conduit entirely. Let me choose between some soul binds and a covenant ability. Cool, fine, and then work a lot on those talents. Because right now there's still talents that haven't been. I didn't click a single time gargle as an Oli DK throughout the entirety of Battle for Azeroth, and it's looking to be exactly the same thing this time around. There, it's like I don't understand. It's supposed to be like your single target ability. It's supposed to be gargle, and then last row, it's designed for that, and it's not been performing. Like it's just it just leaves me there. Like we're putting like so much effort into conduit, and then I look at this ability and I'm like, okay, well. How about we fix that? Boost it a little bit.
Talent systems instead.
Yeah, and like Ian was saying, in that period before BlizzCon and the alpha, he was going on about, oh, you know, like we've been focusing too much on borrowed power, like we want each expansion to be cool, but we also know that it feels bad when you like lose that system and then you level up again and you feel weaker. And he was talking about wanting to invest more in the systems that stay around. And that's how the unpruning was being built, as a way to keep things fun. But it's like, well, yeah, maybe they gave us more base stuff, but then they like quadrupled the amount of, you know, temporary things. So it still feels out of whack. And what's going to be the expectation for 10.0? Like people are going to say, oh, you know, I feel super weak because now I've lost my soul binds and my conduits and my covenants. So is Blizzard going to feel pressured to now like reinvent 3 systems, but then create a 4th system to feel unique on top of that? It, you know, it's like, it seems to be spiraling out of control.
And the worst part is that I feel like we're going to lose a lot of this unpruning, because you look at everything they've unpruned. I created a warlock today and I didn't use curse at all because I couldn't be bothered. Like I was just trying to have fun and play the game, and I didn't press any of it, and it didn't feel like, so I feel like next expansion, they're just going to go, you know what? You guys didn't use curse. We're going to take them away. And then it's going to be like,
new
what?
That system. Oh, that's going to go into the glyph
That's
system.
what's going to happen. Like they're going to remove Hunter's Mark. They're going to remove everything that people are complaining about right now because they unpruned them and nobody likes them. That's not really what people wanted to be unpruned, right? I mean, it feel like they went a bit too far. They're going to dial back down, and we're not going to have anything unpruned at the end of the day. We're just going to have all of those
like classic talent trees and like put some of the conduit, you know, functionality into those. You know,
I love that. I would love that.
Talent trees has been a topic of discussion ever since they did the revamp, and it's almost a little bit mind-blowing that they put so much emphasis on a system that only lasts within the expansion when they could revamp the talent system, which would last further than the expansion itself. Like you mentioned, like removing the conduits entirely and just having soulbinds would be enough for the covenants, and then on the side have you know, put work into building a talent system instead, or changing talent system, or adding or change. Like there's so many things you can do. People are still asking for the classic talent trees, which I don't even think that are that great, but they could, you know, build something along those lines of having a big tree with branches again.
Yeah, honestly, some of the quote boring talents are just like conduits, you know, when it's like, oh, you know, put 5 points and your you know, ability does 5% more damage. That just sounds like conduits.
Yeah.
It's just that like the current talent system, the way it is, it's a true or false. It's like you either pick this ability or you don't. There's no nuance, which the classic talent system brought. And in some variants, obviously, everybody keeps saying, yeah, they're cookie cutter. You went on Wowhead, you look at what talent was the best, and then it's true and not true to an extent. Like you still had the opportunity to explore and do some stuff, which I feel like right now, like I can't explore Gargoyle. Like it's not doing damage. It just doesn't. So why would I put my point there? I'm just not going to do it. Like it's just, that's just a dead talent spot. There's nothing to explore there. It just doesn't do anything.
So and then when something is OP, it's like, well, you know, everyone now uses it. So it's like very much like a binary on-off switch.
You use it when you're outside in the world, you use it in raiding, you use it in Mythic Plus, nothing changes. You use the same talent all the time. There's a lot of rows like that you barely ever change with the current talent system.
And when it happens 2 expansion in a row, it's really, really boring because your class plays exactly the same way.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're not getting anything new. You know, it just feels like, oh, let me use this talent I've been using for 4 years now.
We have another update on Covenants, actually. We have the Covenant sets that we have mentioned in the past. We have looked at how they look like, and we now have an update with them having set bonuses, which can remind us a lot on how the Legion class hall sets were working back in Legion. I have a quick slide here to show you guys what the Covenant sets look like. There we go.
So I don't think Blizzard announced this. I think people just assumed that all tints of the Covenant armor would just look pretty. But apparently the sets you get from doing the max level Covenant campaign, different parts, different chapters reward you pieces, and that set now has 3-piece, 5-piece bonuses. The 3-piece is just kind of boring out of combat regeneration, but then the 5 and 8-piece tend to focus on either like doing something related to the signature Covenant ability or giving you some sort of stat proc. So what do we think about these? Because I know the Heirloom Bonuses have gotten under a lot of fire for being boring or not exciting, and these seem more exciting, but a lot of people are saying, you know, why would I use this set, because I would normally have better gear by the time I, you know, complete my
That's my problem with that. That's my problem with that, because I saw this and I was like, oh cool, exactly like the set from I didn't use them. I never got to use them. I literally, like, as I was about to get the piece from unlocking that, oh no, better from Mythic Plus.
Yeah.
Right.
But now that we're getting rid of Warforging, Titan Forging, and we have less loot, maybe there's some room for them. So they just, because the idea was pretty good back in Legion, but they just had to have the chance to breathe a little bit. You know, it's fine if you receive them and then you actually consider them and you go, oh, let me rock this 2-piece, let me rock this 4-piece. But then you drop that new piece from Mythic Plus and you go, okay, do I switch it? Do I not? But it has to be, you know, it has to have a little bit of a choice. Otherwise it's boring. You know, if it's, obviously you're just going to equip everything from Mythic Plus and it's not even going to compete, then it's going to be boring as hell, right? So that's what they got to do, because that's what happened for me in Legion. I never got to equip it. It was just a transmog set. They might as well just not have the set bonus on there. But I saw people running with them. So like it benefited some player, but
maybe like
I know
super casual players. Like
yeah, exactly.
Is geared to be outdoors. So maybe it's for people that are, you know, like more casual mount farmers, or they're just running and doing their world quests, or it's someone that maybe doesn't raid, but they, you know, log in to make sure they do their Covenant story every week, so they slowly get a set. Maybe it's for those players, but I do think that the bonuses sound more interesting than the Heirloom ones.
Yeah,
I mean, there's an easy fix for that, though. Yeah, for sure. It would be an easy fix, though. They can just have us do like a high key or whatever, and then you get to upgrade one of those pieces to higher item level. And then you reward casual player, and then you reward player that will do higher keys, and then you get to upgrade your set piece, and then you can keep them until you get like raid gear, and then that could be nice.
Yeah, I was actually just going to ask you, Lux, what kind of fix do you think to this would make this gear interesting for you? And yeah, an upgrade system using Mythic Plus, because that will probably be the main source of gear for a lot of people at the beginning of the expansion. You start off with your dungeons at normal, heroic level, then you go into Mythic and then Mythic Plus. So that's definitely going to be your gear source. And if in doing those activities you can upgrade it, that would actually be really cool.
Yeah, and you don't have to make it like super extensive. Like, no, just give me a more casual version and. Yeah, exactly. A 1-2 step, exactly like in Mist of Pandaria with the Valor Point system. You just could upgrade it once and twice, and that's it. You were done, right? So.
Yeah. I also think it's interesting that we know Blizzard wants to get back to doing tier sets, like class sets, later on in the expansion. So maybe they want to gradually introduce the idea of like set bonuses to us again, like experimenting with it in the early half, and then when they feel more confident making, cool bonuses, and it's like, oh look, the classes have come back halfway through the expansion. So hopefully we'll have more set bonuses to look forward to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
oh,
think
apparently they're already upgradable. Is that
yeah,
awesome?
I just saw the comments. I was
Yeah.
looking.
I don't think it's like end game upgradable, but yeah, they're somewhat.
I'm wondering if it's Mythic Plus level upgradable.
Because I mean, I think the
But I don't
Legion
think
one
it's
were
like-
upgradable. No, actually, I think there was some blue piece and some epic piece. Like half the set was like
Yeah, I think
like
some
higher
pieces were
tier,
better
and
than
then
others.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think you can maybe upgrade it to like 195, which is like okay.
Someone
but
in
it
chat
still
says
is,
to
like-
190. And what item level is Mythic Plus?
1 second.
Yeah, I don't even
have
know what
this-
Mythic Zero drop.
Yeah, I mean with all
Yeah, I don't know
the
either.
levels
so
being
confused.
changed, it's just like your brain is scrambled because there's the
Oh yeah,
we
isn't
do
it
have-
183 because the chess drops heroic raid drops 185, which is like 2 or 3 item level.
Well,
Higher
then
than
190
the-
should be good.
Yeah. So I mean, that's great. If that's the case, then
And we
can
have
erase
no
the
Titan
last 5
forging
minutes.
that you. Yeah, and if there's no
Yeah.
Titan forging like you mentioned, then this gear should be pretty decent for some time.
Yeah, if that's actually the case, then that's
Well-
awesome. It's just we haven't been able to test it on beta, right? So it's
Mhm.
hard to
Right.
talk about it
Mhm.
because it's just gonna.
and also the,
show
the
up
frequency
randomly.
of gear. Like the thing is that because some of these pieces are only available for completing like chapter 7, that means that you're gonna get this kind of blah piece like 2 months into like the expansion.
Yeah.
If things are done on like a weekly basis or like maybe a few chapters every week. So maybe if you got this week 0, it would be okay. But if you get it a month into the expansion, it's less exciting if you're,
Yeah.
Mhm.
doing higher keys at that point.
It would have been
Yeah.
nice if they treated it a little bit like in Diablo 3 when you get a new season, right? I don't remember what it's called, like the gift of whatever. And you just get like a set that they give you to get you started, to get like kind of a little build running. You know, you could do like a couple of quests, you could do like, and then you unlock it early on, but then you could replace it fairly quick, but because they're gonna have to go either with one of them. Either you make it an early set, which is cool to start doing stuff, or they make it a more transition to endgame content. But then if they have it take too long to unlock, then it's not gonna do
then it's
anything.
not
It's
fun.
not gonna be an
Yeah.
early set, and it's not gonna be a transitioning set. So like,
Yep.
what's the point of it?
Yeah, and they keep changing like what quest or part of what chapter, even how many chapters are in the Covenant campaign. So I know everyone wants to know like how far can you get, like what by the time raiding opens, and we don't even know when the raid is opening. But it's just
Yeah.
very difficult to ascertain what you can do tied to your Covenant every week. So maybe the first item you get from this set, it's like cool, you can upgrade it and now it's good. But if you get the final piece a month later, it's like
Yeah, it's not as cool.
less exciting.
Yeah. No, definitely. Especially if they are upgradable, then you should get them all early. in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Somebody
Yeah.
mentioned alt catch up, but like renown is time gated, right? So like
Yeah.
it's not
So
even
they're
gonna work
also gated, yeah.
Um,
unless they
but
do
yeah.
a system to have renown go faster for alt at some point. I don't know.
a
They
currency to
probably
help
will
you with the
introduce that
renown.
later.
Another currency.
Yes, another currency, another system too, please.
But yeah, also to recap some of the leveling news that we highlighted before, just to keep it organized. When we were discussing all these leveling things, just to recap what we learned is that Chromie Time is automatically disabled and it teleports you out as soon as you hit level 50. And that was a pretty new discovery. And people were surprised by this because they're like, well, what happens if I want to have fun, doing an old expansion without one-shotting things, or if I'm in the middle of a quest, this is pretty abrupt and it kicks me out, or I want to keep playing with my friend that's maybe a few levels lower, having a similar experience. So again, a lot of people were just surprised to learn about this, especially with Chromie Time coming next week.
Is this something that they that they like confirmed, or is just like a result of what we've seen?
I think it's just a result of what we've seen in beta. Like, everyone is
okay, because we've had that happen a lot this beta so far, where something happens and then, oh my god, you can get the same reward twice in the chest. Everyone loses their and then Blizzard's like, calm down, it's a bug. So
yeah, I mean this might very well be a bug too. We don't know.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
it could be a bug, but yeah.
I think it's to prevent people from, like, they don't want people to level from 50 to 60 in, you know, Northrend or out.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking. It seems like this expansion, they've kind of always tried to do that, but it seems like you have at least to complete the whole quest line. They want you really, really badly to do it. You know, they want you to do the new content so that you unlock. Because I don't know how it works if you don't do all of these things. I don't know. I mean,
they should just
have to do it once.
XP massively, because then you will want to leave. But they shouldn't stop you from finishing your quest line.
Yeah.
Just because
I understand.
50, right?
Yeah, I think more guidance would be good, because if they're trying to emphasize, you know, the story and you're meant to focus on expansions, so like you see the whole story, I think it's really like abrupt to kick you out, because you're gonna, you know, you have this, you don't end at the climax of the story. You're just, you know, booted out. And Blizzard was billing this as like a revolutionary way to experience quests. And it's like, well, now when you simply can't experience them this way when you hit a certain level. And a lot of people were like, oh, you know, I was looking forward to a more like immersive story experience where I felt I was actually playing the game and not just, you know, one-shotting things over-geared at max level. And I don't know, I feel like maybe don't have experience tied to it, but if you want to do these lower level zones in like story mode, I think that would still be useful. It seems weird that you get kicked out of using a system that's been highlighted as such a main feature.
I mean, the easy solution to that is like, because I understand why they kick you out in the first place, because they for your first leveling session in Shadowland, you have to do it. You have to go through the content. So the only thing they would have to do is, as soon as you complete at least Shadowland once, then you don't get kicked out anymore. So you can just freely do whatever the hell you want. Because anyway, they're doing this Thread of Fate thing, which allows you to get in and do whatever you want with dailies and objective bonuses. And so maybe like at least do Shadowland once and then stop it from kicking you. So at least the first time Blizzard is like, okay, you know what? You kind of have to go do this feature, and then we're going to let you whatever you want to do on a later time or whatever, something like that.
It might also be weird for people trying to do dungeons with friends that are still leveling. Like if you're a few levels ahead, you know, you can't group with them if they're in one mode and you're in the other. It creates weird things.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Speaking of another dungeon discovery, which was kind of surprising, going along with the whole things change at 50 deal, the Premade group finder now only opens up if you are at level 50, as we mentioned before. And while we think this is to, you know, cut down on boosting services, a lot of people are saying, hey, you know, I want to find a friend to do an elite quest, or I'm doing something that requires me not to be max level, like, you know, Twinking or Herald of the Titan. If the Premade group finder is going away, I can't do those things.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. One of the things they could do is simply, you know how they remove the ability to auto-invite people, and then that feature only worked if you did it from a real quest, you know, like an epic quest, and then it would allow you to do that. I mean, they just have to they would just have to flesh out the system, have it. I mean, it feels like they're blocking a lot of things just to prevent spammers, but you could maybe create a group from the achievement. So you look at the achievement, you do create group, and then you would go into a specific session that's not necessarily, because people right now are spamming like the Mythic Plus section, right? Because that's what they're trying to sell things into the raid section and into the Mythic Plus section. But if you create a group into the achievement section.
Yeah, like
exactly.
I like
because nobody's gonna post anything there. Like you're not gonna sell a Jaina Mount run into the achievement section. I mean, maybe, but you know.
Yeah, no, I like that idea actually. Having a separate achievement section, because there's a lot of people I know as well who are missing one achievement in a specific meta achievement, who would probably love to use that.
Yeah,
and this is
it's pretty good for the quest, so.
This is also something that's going to get a test run in the pre-patch before the Shadowlands expansion, because with all the changes, this is going to go into effect. So, Blizzard is going to see how many issues this causes before the stakes get higher in Shadowlands. So if they see in the pre-patch that people are, hurting for someone to find a group quest or Herald of the Titans, maybe they can make some adjustments for launch.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird that we're getting this really, really late like that, but
yeah,
I mean, it's probably going to be a problem for the first couple weeks, and then they're maybe going to just go like, okay, we're sorry, this doesn't work, and then they're going to dial it back or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I think just when it comes to things like boosts or bots, like, I think you just need more manual attention on it. Like, we've seen so many complaints with Classic and how they have group forums, and they don't have a pre-made group finder, but the boosting groups are still an issue. Like, you just find a group with that mage and you just power level through. I think that they can try to automate systems, but as we were discussing, sometimes when you automate a system, it doesn't account for unique nuanced bugs or situations that pop up in your game.
Yeah,
especially one that's trying to be like a social multi.
They could lower the level to 10 maybe, like because I understand what they're trying to do. They're just making it so that if you ban that account, that character, they have to create a new one. And then, I mean, just level 10 would be good enough. Like, they literally have to go through an hour zone just to go spam for their thing. If they get banned on that character, like, I guess that could prevent it a little bit better. 50 is a little bit rough, though. I think it's high.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, if they want to make it somewhat high, I guess they could even push it and make it level 20 or 15.
Yeah, Because you're not really going to be looking for... Technically, if you just started...
Herald is the first thing I'm thinking of, so...
Herald is
30. I guess 50.
Yeah. 50 does seem a bit high. I thought they
also mentioned... Maybe, I thought with BFA, their whole big thing was, we want levels to feel exciting, that you unlock more things as you go along. It's not just max levels. So it's like, hey, like, maybe you shouldn't just put everything at 50. Maybe at 30 you get something cool at the pre-made group finder. So...
Do a little tutorial on introducing it. Hey, you can click this, find a group,
Yeah. And so for a final big news topic, again, something we touched on really briefly, is that going along with the whole last-minute leveling discoveries, Blizzard has finally nerfed the experience from Warlords bonus objectives as well as Gorgron quests, because Warlords was really OP to level through, and it may still be the best expansion, but it may not be as OP. And people have been on the fence about this. So, like, this was an obvious bug. Not an obvious bug, but this was obviously OP. Maybe it should have been tuned down, but people knew this since April, so it's kind of scary that it's just being addressed in October. And other people have expressed regret that, if Warlords has these unique incentives, and even with toning it down, it's still the best to level through, maybe another way of approaching the problem would be to improve the expansions that are less popular or lagging behind. Like, maybe some of those things are undertuned. If they're going to nerf Warlords and it's still the best one, maybe they need to do another round of rebalancing and make others more appealing.
I mean, like, people were using that zone to just, like, I don't know what word to use, but, like, people didn't want to level, so they used that zone to go through as fast as possible, do it in a timely, because they just wanted to get the max level. Blizzard's like, okay, you guys are clearly not enjoying leveling. It's taking too long. We're going to squish it all down, but we're going to remove this one thing. And people are complaining again. It's like, even if they're removing that section, like, now leveling is going to take it's going to be so short and so quick that does it really matter if they're removing that thing? Like, it's not like it was fun to go through WoD. I mean, it wasn't particularly fun for me. The only thing it brought me was that it was faster.
Time saving, yeah.
Yeah, like, it's not like, oh, I'm super excited, I'm gonna go do the Gorgron bonus objective for the millionth time. I literally have a map printed in my forehead. It's like
efficient route, yeah.
Yeah, but like, now they're nerfing they're buffing or nerfing, however you want to see it, the leveling. So like, does it really matter? So, like, I don't know. As long as it's fast, it's.
Yeah, it's still faster than, I mean, the experience buff is going away, but it should still end up faster than some other things.
Indeed.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally going to do a couple quests in a zone. You're going to do, like, real quests in a zone, and it's going to go just as fast as the old.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, it's going to be the same thing. Like, people are just...
I'm just surprised it took so long to fix. And now I'm also thinking about the bug testing, that if people hated leveling and they're doing WOD to be faster, that means that among the small percentage of people that enjoyed leveling, most of them maybe picked WOD to power through it. So are there other weird bugs and leveling quirks and scaling quirks with the expansions that don't get a ton of love that are suddenly going to become issues in the pre-patch?
Yeah, maybe.
We will see.
Yeah. We are starting to run out of time here. But before we wrap things up, we have the last couple things to mention. We had 2 subscribers in the chat, Ragin TXN Texan and Prof Xanthos. Thank you guys for supporting Wowhead. We do this show every week. We sometimes have lovely guests such as Lux here today. We try to make it fitting for what is going on in the WoW world right now. So we thought Lux was perfect fit for Shadowlands being so soon. And we've seen a lot of you guys in the chat too, representing with some Lux emotes. Yeah. It's great to see you all. This channel is, we have this show every Monday at same time. And then we also sometimes have special streams with Stefan showing data mining live on stream. So if you think that kind of thing is interesting, you can feel free to follow the channel. Also, let's do quick shout outs for Lux's social media as well in the chat if we have any mods to maybe do that. Lux's Twitter and his Twitch, if we could link those in the chat so you guys can go ahead and follow him as well, that would be great. And Lux just subbed to the channel.
You gotta
thank
do it.
you.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Lux. That's really kind.
We got a hype train.
And right before you, just a minute before you, was Black Diamond, who also subscribed to the channel. Yeah, we got a hype train going. With that, we have our last little topic here with Wowhead masks being on sale. I have a quick. Oh, got a hat.
I mean, we got to put the train conductor hat.
True.
Awesome.
You are the conductor, clearly.
We got to do it.
Wait, we have a bunch of other subs too. We have Hefaced 1S, who also subscribed, and we have Indie X, who also came in. Thank you guys so much. I noticed you have a lot of Among Us emotes. I approve. I love that game.
Yeah, we got 2 of them.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool. I enjoy them.
That's awesome.
It's been fun.
But yeah, I have a quick image of how the mask looks like.
Yeah.
There it is.
We put these up in the spring and they sold out really quickly. So we made our own batch of these. Because as you mentioned, the pandemic in the US lingers a lot. If you're watching from another country, you're probably in better shape. But this is still a big deal in the US. So we decided to put masks up, and Sass has been wearing them around, and a lot of people like them. Either they recognize Wowhead or they think he's being like festive, like a Halloween clown. And yeah, we made these in several different sizes as well. So if you have like a kid or a smaller face, we
or
have
a beard.
kids. Yeah, we have all sorts of masks.
True.
So yeah, trying to experiment with shop merchandise. So if you like this, buy it. They also make great stocking stuffers for Christmas. So I hope we don't need it by then. But yeah, we're happy to try these out and try some interesting products.
Yep. And as a final thing, Lux, I want to ask if you're able to do a high five with both your hands, one which reaches Perk, so it would be on your right side, I believe, a little bit lower.
Right that.
You need one hand which is a little bit higher up to reach me, and one which is a bit lower down to reach Perk.
Oh, Perk is on the wrong side though.
I'm looking at Discord right now. Yeah.
Oh,
so I gotta do something like that, right?
Perk
I gotta do.
swap.
Okay, so this one goes there. Okay, I think we're ready.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. Yeah. All right.
You guys ready?
Yes. Yeah. I'll do the countdown, since then you guys will have the same delay. Okay. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, a little bit of out of sync going on, but
let's say it was a wave.
We'll just pretend it was fine. Yeah, it was a wave, guys.
It's in beta.
Listen, I got a train conductor hat.
Yeah.
It cannot be more cringe.
Cringe is good. Whoever says cringe is bad is not up to date with things. Cringe is good.
No.
But yeah, that's it from us this week. Lux, thank you again for coming here today. It's been lovely having you and talking about WoW. You had some really nice inputs, which were fun to talk about. And you have a lovely community, which we can all see in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you. I had a blast being here. Thank you for having me. I was super happy that you guys asked me to come here, and it was fun. I had a fun time.
That's
awesome. This was delightful. It was really fun talking about with delays, class, and we appreciated your different perspectives.
Awesome.
Yeah, indeed.
That was great.
Yeah. Well, in that case, it is time for us to say goodbye and see you all again next week. People are asking for Garish.
Oh, God. The problem is if we do Garish, it's going to be loud. I don't know if you guys are ready for that.
Go for it. You've already warned us, so it's fine.
It's really loud. I can do it, but it's going to be
sound
loud.
warning. Sound warning.
Okay. All right, let's do it. All right, let's do this. I have seen it. It has shown me. I've seen mountains of skulls and rivers of blood. I will have my world.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's amazing. That was real good. I'm glad I saw that comment in the middle of all the emotes.
Wow.
That was awesome.
Wow. Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, that was legit.
I never
Thanks,
thought
chat,
I would be doing that here.
Got saved by Horde. Wait, that's
I think that's an amazing way to end the show.
That was a great note to end it on. Yeah. Thank you again so much, Lux, and hopefully maybe we'll see you again in a future show. I would love to. Yeah, that would be awesome. And highlighting them, and indeed. What you do. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you all next time. Don't forget to follow Lux's social media. We'll link them again in the chat during the outro.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.